new world structure in the positive timeline that nobody on this planet has ever revealed until now. And I think that some people within the alliance or those that are connected to the insiders are actually catching on as to why we are grabbing Greenland and Canada. Okay, there's a reason why. And this is also taking place on an international scale. Okay, Putin is in on it, the Republic of China, and all of those 109 countries that are part of the alliance. They have all signed for a new global infrastructure. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to get started. I want to welcome everyone that is here. Thank you guys so much for being here. I also want to extend gratitude to my moderators. Thank you guys so much for keeping the high vibe in the chat. All right, so what's happening right now is the unraveling of the old world order. And this is why they're taking out, and they will continue to take out all of the dictators across the different Latin American countries, including Mexico. So what's happening is the unraveling of the old world order, which begins with withdrawal. In this phase of global transition, the decision made by Donald Trump to distance the United States from the United Nations as of 2 days ago, Trump just signed the U.S. out of the UN. This is a chess move, guys, in order to acquire Greenland. Let me explain. Trump just distanced the UN or the US from the UN in order to push for a rapid end also to the Russian-Ukraine conflict, which is marking an act of not of isolation, but a calculated disengagement from a system that is no longer fit for the future that is now going to be constructed under under a new world council. This is what the alliance is going to do, okay? And this is not about choosing sides in a conventional war. It is about dismantling absolute power structures to make way for a new planetary architecture, the transition from a nation state and supranational blocks into the 22 federated regions. Let me explain. The United Nations, which is a 20th century system, is in collapse to give way to a 21st century infrastructure. As you all know, the United Nations, as a vehicle for the one world government, the old world order, was designed for a post-World War II world defined by industrial economies, territorial sovereignty, and land-based warfare. And in a little bit, I'm going to explain all the different federations and the countries that are going to be consolidating into those. So it evolved. Apparently, the UN has evolved into a bureaucratic superstructure, a slow, politicized, and deeply entangled with legacy financial systems, non-elected power centers, and enforcement mechanisms detached from democratic accountability. From this perspective, Trump is breaking from the UN. His break from the UN is not rejection of cooperation, but rejection of centralized global management. The UN represents a vertical model of control, and it has been. The coming planetary framework is horizontal and federated, which means in order to build a decentralized world of continental federations, the old system must step aside. The Russian-Ukraine war, which again is a war that was imposed by the expansion of NATO, was always more of a pressure valve, okay, not a morale binary. Russia is just trying to protect their territory from the expansion of the European Union. We all know that. All right, so the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has often been framed as a simple struggle between aggression and defense. In reality, within this strategic narrative, the war functions as a stress test on the post-Cold War order, specifically on Europe's dependence on its structures. So prolonging the war is locking Europe into a permanent energy insecurity, and this is why the alliance is working on ending that war in favor of Russia. Also, prolonging the war has been a financial dependency on external debt. Well, guess who's financing those wars? The central banking systems. And it's also been a military subordination within an aging, old framework that will no longer be acceptable. So, by pushing for an end to this conflict on terms favorable to Russia, Trump's approach seeks to collapse the conflict quickly rather than weaponizing it indefinitely. A frozen or endless war benefits centralized institutions, defense contractors, and financial intermediaries, not continental reorganization. So, peace, even a symmetric peace, clears the board. And so, why is the alliance favoring Russia? Well, because it is weakening the old European Union. It is dissolving NATO. It is dissolving the globalist infrastructure of the old empire. In other words, the European Union is not merely a regional alliance, it is a financial and regulatory superstructure that was built on a post war debt system, centralized monetary policy, and enforced economic uniformity across vastly different cultures and geographies. So the Russia Ukraine war exposes the European Union's structural weaknesses, its energy dependence without sovereignty, its monetary union without fiscal unity, and its defense commitments without independent capability. Not to mention, it's also exposing the cultural divergence that is masked by the bureaucrats that are running the European Union. So by ending the war forces a reckoning. In other words, without the external crisis, the EU must confront its internal contradictions. In this framework, the goal is not to destroy Europe, but to dissolve the EU as a centralized bloc, allowing Europe to reemerge as multiple federated regions aligned with geography, resources, and cultural identity. In short, the controlled de escalation is acting as a preparation for global reorganization. Trump's strategy within this interpretation is favoring the de escalation over escalation, the dissolution over domination, and restructuring over reform. The objective is not to preserve the old alliances of the European Union, but to sunset them cleanly. Ending the war in Europe with Ukraine accomplishes several things simultaneously. And this is part of the agenda, okay? It's going to remove the justification for emergency governance. It is going to undermine the centralized financial extraction systems. It's going to weaken the supranational enforcement bodies by the globalist agencies. And it's also going to free the regions in order for them to reorganize internally. Well, all of this, my friends, is clearing the path for the planetary transition, which is already underway, to move toward what is known as the 22 federated regions, where Europe no longer exists as a single bureaucratic entity, but as a multiple federations with autonomy and continental coordination. So we are going to be moving from blocks to federations. And a lot of this ties in with the idea that we are also transitioning into an interstellar culture. Okay. So in the old order, we all know that power apparently flowed upward towards the empires, the consolidation of power, right? The Rothschilds and global institutions. In the new order, on the other hand, power is going to be redistributed outward into the federations designed for resilience, technological integration, and planetary stewardship. So Trump's break from the UN, which happened exactly 2 days ago, which fits perfectly with my theme today, and his push to end the war with Russia and Ukraine is not an isolated political move, guys. They are systematic signals. The scaffolding of the 20th century UN is being dismantled so that the architecture of the 21st century and beyond could take its place. Now, the old world was managed through institutions. The new world will be organized through federations. And before even something can stand, what came before must allow to fall in order for something new to take its place. So it's happening peacefully, it's happening deliberately, and it's happening fast. So the North American Federation is the first federation to form. And this is the reason why Canada and Greenland and Mexico and the US are scheduled to evolve into the North American Federation. And my friends, this has nothing to do with the globalist agenda. For those that have read my book, The Secret Government, this has nothing to do with the American Union. The American Union was part of a step-by-step global agenda to consolidate world power into a global union, one world government. This is the opposite of that, okay? Let me explain. The emergence of the North American Federation is going to mark a decisive transition in human organization, one that is moving beyond the limitations of the 19th and 20th century nation state model, which have been corrupted, and toward a planetary framework designed for an interdependent, spacefaring civilization. So, by uniting the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Greenland into a single continental federation, this structure is reflecting not the collapse of sovereignty, but its evolution. This is a reorganization of civilization in itself. Economically integrated and technologically aligned and coordinated through orbital infrastructures and space-based governance. This is where Space Force comes into the play. So that means that within this new structure, borders are no longer walls of competition, but uh, they become part of a cooperative order. So the nation state did emerge in an era of land-based power, industrialized production, and territorial warfare. Well, in the 21st century, those structures will no longer be um, will be in existence. Why? Because the energy grids, which span continents, supply chains for planetary integration, communication, and orbital and security, uh, you could say, threats that originate from cyberspace and near Earth orbit as much as from land or sea. So, what this means, in order to create the Golden Dome, we have to do it continentally, not just for one country, but for multiple countries in order for the Golden Dome to work. So the North American Federation responds to this reality by reorganizing governance around functional geography rather than historical borders. It aligns economies with the new quantum financial system, the infrastructures and technological systems at a continental scale while preserving internal cultural and political autonomy. So, in this regard, sovereignty is not being erased, it is being layered. Local governance will remain local, regional identity will remain intact, but coordination is happening where it must at the scale of the systems that now are shaping our civilization. So the 22 federated regions is a new planetary lattice that is part of the agenda in the positive timeline. So rather than imposing a single centralized world government, which is what the old guard wanted to do, Earth is going to be reorganizing into 22 federated regions, each designed around geography, resources, culture, and technological capacity. Well, together, these regions are going to be forming a planetary lattice, a distributed system that is optimized for stability, resilience, and long term evolution. So each federation is going to be responsible for five core domains. The first domain is regional governance and cultural preservation. The second domain is resource stewardship and environmental protection. The third domain is economic coordination and trade balance. The fourth domain is technological development and space integration. And the fifth domain is security through orbital and planetary systems. Well, this structure is going to replace zero sum geopolitics with cooperative zones, enabling coordination without uniformity and unity without empire. Within this planetary framework, in terms of the strategic role of the North American Federation, the North American Federation will serve as a cornerstone region, and its functions is going to be as a technological and aerospace hub. Space Force, the fifth branch of our military, is going to expand globally through the North American Federation. It's also going to function as a leader in space-based infrastructure and orbital coordination. And we have to be ahead of China because it is a race for the space era. And it's also going to be a testing ground for post-Fiat economic systems and advanced energy models. And most importantly, a stabilizing anchor for the Western Hemisphere. The Federation's internal integration will allow capital, labor, energy, and innovation to flow across the entire continent without friction, while its external role is going to support planetary systems that extend beyond Earth itself. So Greenland is known as the Arctic keystone in the plans for the Alliance to inherit. So the integration of Greenland is not symbolic. And this is the reason why, again, the US broke away from the UN. Because as long as the US is aligned with the UN, it is going to be impossible for us to take over Greenland. Apparently, the UN is, a lot of the European countries, especially Denmark, is not going to allow that. But, it's inevitable, okay? It's inevitable. Greenland it's going to provide the North American Federation with direct access to the Arctic and polar space corridors. It's also going to provide the North American Federation with strategic positioning for orbital launch as we become part of a spacefaring society, tracking and monitoring systems in space. And it's also going to provide the North American Federation with a deep earth and rare resource access critical to advanced technologies. And it is also going to be a northern gateway for the Earth space logistics. So as polar routes become central to orbital mechanics, communications, latency, and planetary monitoring, Greenland becomes a keystone node in the Earth's emerging space architecture. And a lot of this has a lot to do with space-based governance and orbital stewardship. So the presence of the United States Space Force aligned infrastructure within the Federation signals a fundamental shift in how security and governance are understood. Defense will no longer be defined by tanks, borders, or even territorial conquest. It is going to be defined by planetary protection. The Golden Dome has to be a continental feature. So it's going to be defined by planetary protection, space traffic control, and orbital safety. It's also going to be defined by monitoring off near Earth and lunar space, cislunar space, and protection of satellites, communications, and orbital commerce. Well, space is going to become not a battlefield anymore, but a domain of stewardship. And I'll explain how this is going to be aligned with the interstellar societies. Okay. So space will not become a battlefield. It is going to become a domain of stewardship, managed infrastructure essential to civilization's continuity and expansion. The North American Federation is designed explicitly for Earth space integration, recognizing that the planet itself is now embedded within a larger orbital and interplanetary system. And economically, the different federated regions are going to act as a proving ground for a post fiat model that is aligned with real assets, the QFS, advanced energy systems, and digitally coordinated trade. And so continental scale integration is going to enable resilience against systematic shocks while allowing innovation to propagate rapidly across the regions. And this is not austerity or centralization, my friends. This is coherence, a new world structure. The 22 federated regions do not represent a global empire nor a technocratic dictatorship. In fact, they will be representing a structured planetary alliance, a system designed to prevent chaos, prevent conflict, and ultimately prepare humans for participation into a broader interplanetary and eventually interstellar community. The old world was apparently divided by borders drawn by for war and control, and that was all part of the old guard, right? The money men were the only ones that profited through every conflict. Well, the new world system organized into the 22 federated regions are going to be coordinating everything, and they're going to be sharing everything responsibly. The resources, everything's going to be in perfect balance. In other words, so this is another way of stripping the cabal from its power systems. So the North American Federation is not the end of history. It is the opening chapter of a civilization that is learning how to govern itself at a planetary scale. And this is only the beginning. Okay. So the 22 federated regions of the New World are as follows. The Western Hemisphere will include the North American Federation, and that is going to be consolidating the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Greenland. And then we're going to have the Central American Federation. And this is why it's important for the alliance to continue the cleansing of all the dictators, with Colombia and Mexico being next, in order to allow Guatemala and all the different countries in Latin America, including Panama and the Caribbean, to consolidate into the Central American Federation. And then we're going to have the Caribbean Federation, which is going to include the island nations, the maritime hubs, and the Atlantic corridors. And then we're also going to have the Amazonian Federation, which is going to consist of Brazil, the rainforest regions, and the ecological regions or zones. And then we're also going to have the Andean Federation, consisting of Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, and the High Andes. And then we're also going to have the Southern Con Federation, which is going to consist of Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Patagonia, and the Arctic axis. And then in terms of the European Atlantic sphere, when the dissolution or dismantling of the European Union takes place, we're going to have the Western European Federation, consisting of Spain, France, Portugal, and the Atlantic region. And then we're going to have the Nordic Arctic Federation, consisting of Scandinavia, Iceland, and the Arctic territories. And then we're also going to have the Central European Federation, consisting of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the surrounding states. And then we're also going to have the Eastern European Federation, consisting of Poland, the Balkans, and the post-Soviet European states. And then we're going to also have the Mediterranean Federation, consisting of Italy, Greece, and the coastal Mediterranean nations. We're also going to have the Eurasian Federation. This is where Putin is a key in. He's a huge instrument in that. And that's going to be the consolidation of Russia, Siberia, and Central Eurasian land masses, all consolidating into the Eurasian Federation. And then we're also going to have the Central Asian Federation consisting of uh, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and the Silk Road Corridor. And then we're also going to have the Middle Eastern Federation consisting of the Levant, Middle East, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Mesopotamian region. And then we're also going to have the North African Federation consisting of Egypt, Maghreb, and the Saharan Corridor. We're also going to have the West African Federation consisting of the Sahel and the Atlantic region of Africa. The Central African Federation will consist of the Congo Basin, the rainforest, and the mineral regions. And the Southern African Federation will consist of South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, and the regional hubs. And then the East African Federation will be consisting of the Rift Valley, the Indian Ocean, and the Horn regions of Africa. And then to the east, we're going to have the South Asian Federation, which is going to consist of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. And then we're going to have the East Asian Federation consisting of China, once we dissolve the CCP, China, Korea, Japan, and those regional areas. And we're also going to have, finally but not least, the Pacific Federation. Those are the 22 federated regions that are going to exist in the New Earth structure, which is going to consist, the Pacific Federation that is going to consist of Australia, New Zealand, Oceania, and the Southeast Asia. And so this is how the structure is going to work. There will be no single global ruler. There will be no centralized empires. Each federation will manage its own internal governance. So all 22 participants is in a planetary coordination council will be operating as a council, a true democracy designed for the Earth-space integration, not perpetual war, but built for interstellar readiness, resource balance, and civilizational longevity. And this is not a one world government. This is a one world divided into 22 regions, each with their own infrastructure. Okay. Now there's more, guys. Now this is going to be existing in the 4th D Earth. Okay. This structure is also mirroring the governance models already in use by advanced interstellar civilizations, where worlds are treated not as conquest, but as living systems, where each region contributes a unique capability to the whole. So in this model, Earth is no longer going to be merely a planet divided by borders, but a planetary organism preparing to participate responsibly in a wider galactic community. Therefore, at the planetary level, the 22 federated regions are going to manage internal governance, culture, and resources. Above this sits a coordination layer designed to interface with solar system infrastructure, orbital systems, and eventually interstellar networks. And rather than concentrating power, the systems will distribute responsibilities. Each federation is going to hold a role, not of dominance, but a frequency role. To give you guys an example, okay, Earth will be operating as a federated world within a multi-tiered cosmic structure. For instance, on a planetary level, we're going to have the 22 federated regions. On a solar system level, the 22 federated regions are going to cooperate in tandem with the Jupiter Command, the restored Saturnian Council, the Venusian Council, the Martian Council, as those planets will once again be inhabited, okay? On a regional galactic sector level, our solar system, the 22 federated regions, our solar system is going to be part of the galactic arm that is going to be involved in the interstellar trade within our sector of our galaxy, where science and technology and knowledge will be distributed among the different systems in a security format, okay? On a universal level, our Galactic sector, which is sector 9, consisting of 52 different solar systems, is going to be operating within a larger infrastructure known as the galactic community. And then if you want to extend this all the way to the universal level, I mean, it just continues, right? We're going to fit perfectly and in balance with the rest of the cosmos, is what I'm trying to say. So each federation is going to anchor a specific planetary function, creating balance rather than hierarchy. So in this regard, this is the principle that defines the Earth's interstellar alignment. Okay, the Western Hemisphere, for example, is going to be in charge of technology. After all, Space Force has the most advanced technology, as it's going to be a front with Solar Warden, bringing forth all the interstellar technology that has been used within the private sector. So the Western Hemisphere, known as the North American Federation, will be tasked with the technology, biosphere, and the planetary stability. The North American Federation will emerge as Earth's primary hub for aerospace coordination. Also, orbital infrastructure and space-based governance. Its role is not military, it is logistical and technological, managing space traffic, planetary defense monitoring as well, and off-world expansion protocols. So, in interstellar terms, the North American Federation is going to act as one of the Earth's principal interface with near space and orbital systems. Southward, the Central American Federation will serve as a planetary transit nexus, overseeing energy corridors and hemispheric logistics that bind continents together. The Caribbean Federation will be anchoring oceanic and climate stewardship, maintaining the Earth's atmospheric and marine balance, critical for a planet's whole biosphere, right? Which is inseparable from the oceans. And then deeper within the Western Hemisphere, the Amazonian Federation will assume one of the most sacred roles on the Earth. They're going to be the guardians of the living biospheres and genetic archives. So, in interstellar civilizations, biological diversity is considered a strategic asset, and the Amazon functions as a planetary vault of life itself. The Andean Federation, aligned with high altitude and crystalline regions, stabilizes the planetary electromagnetic and geological grids, while the Southern Cone Federation will oversee the polar axis, Antarctic research, and deep time planetary archives embedded beneath the ice, overseen by the Southern Cone Federation. Now, in terms of Europe and the Atlantic spheres, in the European Atlantic sphere, governance will shift from raw resources to civilizational continuity. The Western European Federation will act as a cultural and diplomatic anchor, maintaining historical memory and managing protocols for inter-civilization contact. This role will become essential as the Earth begins formal engagements beyond our planet. The Nordic Arctic Federation will control the polar orbital corridors and stellar navigation pathways, which are crucial for deep space travel. Meanwhile, the Central European Federation will be specializing in precision engineering and planetary systems design, translating abstract interstellar technologies into functional infrastructure. The European Federation, Eastern European Federation, will carry the responsibility for cybernetic defense and digital sovereignty, protecting the Earth's networks from synthetic intelligence overreach and non-organic interference. Along the southern arc, the Mediterranean Federation will bridge ancient knowledge systems with modern governance, ensuring that humanity's long memory is not lost during rapid technological acceleration. And so spanning vast territories, the Eurasian Federation is going to function as the Earth's long range monitoring and planetary security region, overseeing asteroid detection, outer system awareness, and deep space observation. Adjacent to it, the Central Asian Federation revives its historic role as a planetary trade corridor, now expanded to include off-world commerce and interstellar resource flow. The Middle Eastern Federation will occupy a unique position as a temporal, cultural, and spiritual crossroad. So, in terms of cosmic governance models, each region will serve as a convergence point where belief systems, timelines, and civilizations will intersect, making this federation essential for inter civilization dialogue and conflict mediation. Africa's federated regions are foundational to the Earth's interstellar identity. Why? Well, the North African Federation will be managing the solar energy systems and the atmospheric harmonics, acting as a planetary energy regulator. Excuse me. Whereas the West African Federation is going to preserve the creative consciousness, the music, the rhythm, the oral memories, and the collective expression, the elements that are recognized by advanced civilizations as stabilizing forces for planetary coherence. And at the Earth's heart, we have the Central African Federation, which will be overseeing the mineral stewardship and deep Earth resonance. Many of the materials required for advanced space technologies originate here, making this region vital to planetary advancement. The Southern African Federation will lead research into biotechnology, human resilience, and adaptation for off world environments, while the East African Federation will safeguard humanity's evolutionary record, its origin, and its future genetic pathways. The South Asian Federation anchors consciousness sciences, inner technologies, and mind field coherence. In interstellar societies, mastery of consciousness is considered as important as mastery of technology, or even more important, making the role indispensable. The East Asian Federation will be advancing quantum computing, temporal modeling, and probability navigation, which are what? Tools required for navigating complex space-time environments. We are going galactic. Finally, the Pacific Federation will be bridging the Earth's oceans and stars. There are many portals within the ocean that connect to the different star systems within the universe. Drawing on ancient navigation cultures and vast maritime knowledge, the Pacific Federation will be anchoring humanity's relationship with celestial movements, stellar mapping, and cosmic orientation. So together, the 22 federated regions will form a complete planetary system, balanced, specialized, and resilient, where no single federation will govern the others. Each will contribute a function essential to the whole, and this is how advanced civilizations endure, not through domination, but through coherence. That is the magical word here, coherence, as we go galactic, coherence. Therefore, Earth does not step into the interstellar community as a fractured world or a centralized empire. It's impossible, okay? It is going to step into the interstellar community as a federated planetary infrastructure, aware of its responsibilities, consciousness of its histories, and prepared for its future among the stars. Now, this is not the end of the world, guys. This is the end of the old architecture. Okay? Now, there's more. From a fifth dimensional perspective, as you guys know, we are going to be transitioning into Harmonic Universe 2, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, where the Terra Earth exist. Uh, the 22 federated regions are going to have an oversight from the fifth dimensional level of reality, which is going to be overseen by what is known as the five petal star and the architecture of planetary stewardship. As the 22 federated regions emerge on the surface world in the 4D reality, their coordination does not arise from a singular earthly authority, capital, or city, or any centralized bureaucracy. Instead, it is governance transitioning upward into a fifth dimensional oversight where administration is not longer based on domination or control, but on coherence, balance, and alignment with universal law. At this level, civilization will be guided not by empire, but by office, archetypal functions that exist beyond any single nation, species, or political ideology. These offices operate collectively under the symbol known as the five petal star, a geometric and energetic framework representing equilibrium between spirit, life, matter, technology, and justice. This is not mythology, it is a structural model for a post conflict, post scarcity interplanetary civilization. The five petal stars functions as a planetary governance lattice, not a hierarchy. Each petal will be representing a core office responsible for one aspect of planetary continuity, while the center represents unity consciousness, the point at which all offices harmonize. So each office is going to operate autonomously, yet in resonance with the others, ensuring that no domain, spiritual, ecological, technological, or judicial can dominate the whole. The first example of this, of the five petal star, is the office of the Christ. And this has nothing to do with religion. All right. The restoration of the office of the Christ is just the title. Fifth dimensional moral coherence in the fifth dimensional earth reality. The office of the Christ is the apex of the system of alignment with source, not as a religious institution, but as a fifth dimensional frequency of governance. This office, the office of the Christ, will represent unity consciousness, ethical coherence across civilizations, protection of free will and soul sovereignty, and alignment with universal natural law. The office of the Christ does not legislate policy. It ensures that no federation, technology, or system violates the evolutionary rights of sentient beings. The office of the Christ will act as a harmonic stabilizer, preventing tyranny, exploitation, or even distortion from a re-emerging under new forms. In practical terms, the office of the Christ will function as the moral compass of the 22 federated regions operating from the fifth dimensional reality. So, the next office of the five petal stars is the office of agriculture and technology, which is stewardship of life and creation. They are the guardians of that. So, the Office of Agriculture and Technology will be recognizing that food systems and technological systems are inseparable in an advanced civilization. They all work together. This office will oversee planetary food security and regenerative agriculture. It's also going to oversee harmonization of biotechnology with natural ecosystems. It's also going to oversee ethical deployment of everything, restoration of soil, water, and atmospheric balance, and ethical employment of technologies that are suitable for organic life forms. Okay. So, therefore, technology will no longer permit any domination of life, according to this office. Okay. Life will become the primary metric by which technology is evaluated. This office, the office of agriculture, and technology ensures that innovation enhances biodiversity, planetary health, and human well being rather than extraction, dependency, or control. The next office is the Office of Cosmic Fusion, which deals with energy, matter, and creation systems. This is the third petal, the Office of Cosmic Fusion, which is going to be responsible for the energetic backbone of the federated regions. Its mandate will include advanced energy systems beyond fossil fuel and fiat economies, fusion based, plasma based, and zero point adjacent architectures. We're going galactic. It's also going to be in charge of harmonization of planetary grids with stellar and galactic cycles. In other words, we are being realigned with the natural order. And it's also going to be in charge of safe integration of matter energy technologies as we continue advancing into higher advanced systems. This office will ensure that energy abundance eliminates scarcity as a tool of control. So when energy becomes decentralized within the 22 federated regions, we will have a clean atmosphere, clean oceans. And effectively, that will be allowing for a healthier living lifestyle for all living things. Where entire, you could say, warfare, economic based industries, whatever you want to call it, will no longer be allowed to exist. Okay. The fourth office is known as the Office of Interplanetary Peace and Justice. So, justice within the federated regions will be an interplanetary future that cannot be territorial. Okay, they're going to be in charge of that. The Office of Interplanetary Peace and Justice will govern conduct across the 22 federated regions, as well as near Earth space and future off-world settlements. So this office will oversee conflict mediation between federated regions, if there is any conflict, will also oversee planetary and orbital law, protection of sentient rights across multiple species and dimensions, and the accountability for crimes that affect planetary or cosmic stability. In other words, justice is no longer punitive. It is restorative and corrective, focused on realignment rather than revenge. So under this framework, there will be no wars. Okay, that will be obsolete. Now, the fifth office is known as synthesis and balance. This is the fifth petal. The fifth petal represents synthesis, the integration point where spirit, ecology, energy, technology, and justice converge. Can I get more water, please? Thank you. So, this office will ensure that there is no single office that is going to override the others. It is also going to ensure that systems will remain adaptive rather than rigid, and that the planetary lattice stays aligned with higher order intelligence. It is the safeguard against repeating the mistakes of other civilizations. So, the 22 federated regions are not going to be governed by force, fear, or centralized authority. They are overseen through resonance by the five offices that I just mentioned that are going to be operating from the fifth dimensional Earth reality, overseeing the fourth dimensional Earth reality. And so they are going to be overseen through resonance, aligned through fifth dimensional offices operating under the five petal star. The old world order will no longer resurface. It's going to be impossible. Dictatorships will no longer exist. Communism, all of that. Nothing will ever be centralized again. Within this framework, guys, the Earth is preparing to operate within a larger system and participate within a larger interplanetary, galactic, and cosmic community where governance is measured not by power, but by balance. And as this structure comes online, so I'm giving you guys the bigger picture here as to why. We are taking Greenland and Canada. Putin is doing the same, and the other countries that are aligned with the alliance are all in on this, okay? When this structure comes online, humanity will be uplifted. Okay, from survival to stewardship, from division to cooperation, from earth-bound quarantine to galactic existence. To galactic existence. So, yeah, yeah, we are living in some exciting times, guys, and it is a great honor and pleasure to be here at this time. So, at this time, I would like to give some shout outs. Oh, first of all, I would like to give a shout out to Ramsey HD, who is turning 21 today. Happy birthday to Ramsey HD, who is one of the Galactic Jedis. I just want to wish him a happy 21st birthday. And I also want to give some shout outs to some of the Galactic Jedis that are here. I see 2,800 people. Thank you so much for being here. Lee Star's here, William Ryan, Meg, Peggy Baker, Greg, uh, Jill Hunt, MJF, Melissa Harper, Baby Blue Notes, Angela, Wolf Mother, thank you, one of my moderators, thank you so much. Troll Slayer, thank you so much for being here, one of my other moderators. Polar Bear is here, okay. I see all these waves and all these hand gestures. Thank you guys for all the love and for being here. I would watch this from the beginning, guys. I would watch this from the beginning. Isn't it awesome that Trump broke away from the UN 2 days ago? The US is no longer part of the UN, guys. That is great news. All right, so I want to welcome all 2,800 people that are in the house. Quick reminder, guys, don't forget to order your folium. There is a high demand. The link is always in the description, and I always pin it in the comments at the end of the live. All right, so it is time for Q&A. You guys know the drill. Questions in capital letters, please, so that I could bypass the chat. Oh, you guys are so welcome. Excellent intel, incredible development. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Will we go again? If you guys want your questions to be answered for sure, make sure you super chat me, and you know for sure you'll get your questions answered. Otherwise, I'm going to be just answering random questions. Will we go into gold era in 2028? The cabal will collapse in 2028. It definitely seems like we're heading into that direction. Might even be prior to 2028. Might even be prior. I heard that Trump might have another government shutdown on the 30th of this month, so that could be the EBS. Who knows? Thank you so much, Jacob Shear, for your super chat. Ishmael, will we integrate all our fractals into our awareness as we start glowing after the first solar flash? Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Susan K, for your donation. If you guys want to know the details of all the different countries, I do reveal those in the first edition of my book, Our Cosmic Origin. Um, they told me that people weren't ready to understand this development in the near future, but I was given the green light that I could actually share it now. So now, when I publish another book in the making, I will add the 22 federated regions in great detail at the end of that chapter. Thank you so much for the super chat. Real Truth Lives. Thank you so much. Your question is, what is the current status of Three Eye Atlas? Good question. Swan, and how are they integrated in this ascension process? Are they added protection for this process, or do they have a create greater role? All of the above. All of the above. As mentioned, guys, I put out so many presentations on Three Eye Atlas, on Swan, which is 100 times bigger. For all my new subscribers, I would watch all my presentations on Three Eye Atlas. Again, Three Eye Atlas is us coming from the future 200,000 years from now as the Earth becomes part of a Type 3 civilization, relocating at the center of our galaxy where Three Eye Atlas was launched from, here to stabilize and to activate the new Earth grid. So Three Eye Atlas is playing a huge role in this transition. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan Manson, for your super chat. Carmen and I enjoyed meeting you today on Ascension 2.0. We signed up for Ascension 3.0. Awesome. Can't wait to see you guys in 2 weeks. Again, thank you for all you do. Question: what will it look like when the US merges with Mexico? Same currency and borders? No. No, we're going to be operating under the new quantum financial system when this reorganization takes place. And the only way the global quantum financial system could actually operate harmoniously is if these countries dissolve into its proper federated region. That's the only way it could operate. Next question. Venusian Starcy, thank you so much for the super chat, sister. I appreciate that. Vicky Gray, thank you so much for your super chat. Such love and gratitude to you and Monica. Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate that. Again, I wasn't able to pretty much break down all 200 plus countries. I just gave you guys an overview of the 22 federated regions. But again, for those that have the first version of my book, Our Cosmic Origin, it's all at the end of that book. At the end, it's the last chapter. I detailed all the countries that are going to be part of the 22 federated regions. Thank you so much, Peggy, for your super chat. I stepped away for a few. Did you talk about the exposure of organized religion? No, I didn't talk about that today. But again, when the old system collapses, so is organized religion. Diana Q3067, thank you so much for your super chat. In which federation will Venezuela be? You did not mention. Again, I don't have that information. However, I did publish that information in my first edition. I don't have any copies of my first edition of Our Cosmic Origin. For those of you that have the first edition of Our Cosmic Origin, guys, all the countries are detailed into which federated region they will belong to. But I don't have that information right now. That would probably take a whole hour to describe that. But if you want, Venezuela, do I have a copy of my old edition? I could go see. I'm not sure if I do. So let's continue with the chat here. Yes, please. Can you find a copy of my first edition? All right. Thank you so much, Dan. Dan, for the super chat. One more question. We have family in Mexico. Will taking out the cartels be swift, or will it be a long, bloody war? No, it'll be swift, just the way they took out Maduro. So there will be no civilians. Oh, thank you. Okay, this is the first edition of Our Cosmic Origin. And yeah, guys, in the last chapter, I break down all the countries in the federated regions. That's this chapter right here. Okay. And let's see. So, the new Commonwealth of Nation and the federated regions that will align with the Galactic Alliance, with no further said, here is a look at the coming New World structure. Okay, so we have the Russian Federation. Okay, you want to know where Venezuela will be? Venezuela will be part of the Venezuela will be part of the. Where is Venezuela? Hmm. Venezuela, Venezuela, where are you? Okay, the Viracocha Federation will be Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, and Bolivia. And then you have the Easter Island Federation will include Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. And the Quetzalcoatl Federation will consist of El Salvador, Cuba, Honduras, Costa Rica, Colombia, Venezuela. There we go. Venezuela will be part of the Quetzalcoatl Federation, as revealed in my first edition. All right, let's continue here. What are your thoughts? Random questions now. What are your thoughts about mountains, mountain like trees that used to connect all earthlings together? Some say the Devil's Tower is one of these trees. Petrified? Are you talking about the mountains that look like giant tree trunks? Those were giant trees, and they did exist in ancient times. And this was around the time where the giants were still fully active on the earth, on the surface. So yeah, those are pretty much real. They're, these are huge trunks. They look like mountains, right? But they're trees that were cut. I do agree on that. Does cosmic origin talk about quantum jumping? No, but I do express and I teach you guys how to quantum jump in my second ascension course, Ascension 2.0. Somebody's saying that the colossal trees or the giant trees are mentioned in the Bible. The first edition of my book came out in 2022, but I had to do a second edition because they totally messed up the editing of my first edition. So now the second edition is the Purple Book or Cosmic Origin second edition. Okay, this was the first edition. Second edition is the purple one, this one. For all my new subscribers, it would be wise to order a copy of my book so that you guys could understand a lot of the topics that I discuss on these lives. Yes, Jesus is king no matter what. Well, he is the King of Kings. That's for sure. What federation will include Antarctica? I am not sure. Thank you so much, Stephen Peter, for your donation. I guess I could always look to see what federation Antarctica is going to be. Let's see. Okay, Antarctica will be part of the. Let's see. All right, so the Galactics, okay, the North American Federation will be known as the Jabucas Federation, which will include Canada, the US, Mexico, Alaska, and Greenland. See, I was right. But see, the Galactics, when they revealed this information, it was under its original name. So it's going to be called the Jabucas Federation. All right, Antarctica. Antarctica, where are you? Yeah, I can't find the Antarctica where Antarctica is going to be, but when I have more time, oh, there we go. Antarctica is going to be part of the Reflective Federation. Yeah, it's going to be part of the Reflective Federation. Thank you so much, Venusian, for your super chat. It has been said that to receive Nicera funds, one must be living in the country you were born. If that is true, then those who have been deported should be grateful. I've never heard of that, but what I do know is that when the new um, beneficial system comes online, the QFS, Nicera Gesera, every Earth human is going to be um, it's going to be benefiting from it. Okay, so no human will be left behind. So I don't know. I've never heard of that. You have to be born. Oh, you've heard of that? You have to be in your original country. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into that. Good question, though. What about Hawaii, Ishmael? Well, Hawaii is part of the United States, so it's going to be part of the North American Federation, or as the Galactics call it, the Jabuka Federation. What part will the inner Earth civilizations play? Well, once we are settled under the new Earth, then the inner Earth civilization will openly interact with our surface world at that point, where there is no more cabal. So, yeah, they're going to be interacting with us peacefully as we go galactic. Thank you so much, Suzika, for your super chat. Will the Office of the Piddles be getting rid of all the poisonous snakes and alligators and everything else that likes to bite? Okay, so that we can actually swim in nice waters. Um, you know what? All I know is that within the new Earth, even within the animal kingdom, they're going to be upgraded. Okay, so I don't know if there's going to be alligators and snakes that are going to be eating people, but what I do know is that everything will be safe again. The oceans will be safe, the rivers will be safe. So to answer your question, either the alligators and the snake or the snakes are going to be benign, or they just won't exist. Either or, things are going to be better in the new world. Nothing to fear. Thank you, Kathleen, for your super chat. Will countries exist in 5D? No. Will we all exist in harmony? Yes. Absolutely. The lion shall lie down with the lamb. Yes, in the new earth, in the millennium, even the lions are going to be friendly. Absolutely. Every animal is going to be friendly. And yes, we will all be telepathic with everything else that's alive. That's correct. Will we have parasites in the new earth? No. Your body's going to be healthy, restored. Thank you so much for all you do. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the water. Do you know about the flesh-eating plants in inner Earth? Emery Smith said there is. Well, there's a lot of things, a lot of creatures that we are unaware of that exist within the inner Earth. I wouldn't doubt it, but flesh-eating plants sounds like a scene out of a movie, right? Where the big plant eats a human. uh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it if they exist, but not on the surface world, obviously. I don't know what stone this is. Black tourmaline. Thank you. Is it for protection? It's for protection. Any updates on the UK Witch Federation? Well, like I mentioned today earlier, again, if you guys are late on the presentation, make sure you guys watch this from the beginning. I believe that the UK will dissolve into the European Federation. James Staples, thank you so much for your super chat. Good day, Ish. Which geographic region is the Reflective Federation? Pacific Federation with Australia and Oceania? Um, well, let's check. Which geographic region is the Reflective Federation? I think that's the southern caps, like Antarctica. I think that's the Reflective Federation. Um, the Pacific Federation. I think that's where Australia will be. I'm not sure. Let me check. Australia, where are you? Australia, where are you? Yeah, I'm not finding it right away. Oh, there we go. Australia will be part of the Oceanic Federation. That will include Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Brunei, Borneo, the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Iran, Java, Fiji, the Solomon Islands, Tonga, Kiribati, Nauru, New Caledonia, Tuvalu, Mariana, Marshall, Wallis, Vanuatu, Samoa, Polynesia, Micronesia, Palau, Niue, and Pitcairn. All those countries are going to be part of the Oceanic Federation. Thank you so much, Suzeka, for your super chat. She says, if I am able to transition to a higher place, will I be able to rejoin with my precious little Chihuahua, who I had to put to sleep? Oh, late July. I'm sorry to hear that. I could understand how our pets could be like losing a child, but yes. Um, I've always believed that in the new earth, we will all be reunited with past loved ones. And about regarding pets, um, I don't know how to answer that. I just don't want to give you an answer unless I really know the answer. But I hope you do. I hope you are reunited with your Chihuahua, with your little puppy. So I'm sorry to hear that your Chihuahua passed away in July. But there is a movie that states that all dogs do go to heaven. So you might see him again. Nathan Taylor, thank you so much for your super chat. How will we buy land if we go to 5D Earth? Nothing will be owned by anyone. Nothing. And come back to the 4th. So I then can manifest a house because I don't want to live on the inside of the earth. Well, in the 50 earth, the buildings are going to be crystalline. They're going to be built with crystalline structures. So in the 50 earth society, you won't need to buy anything. In fact, there will be no economy. You will be manifesting at the speed of thought anything that you need. Did we ever live in 5D and were sent back to 3D? Well, I mean, if you're a volunteered, part of the Starseed Envoy program was to come back to the 3D or come into the 3D when you were already existing in either 5D or above. Yes, North America will be the Jabuka Federation. That is correct. Apparently, some of you guys have a copy of the first edition, huh? As a reminder, guys, for those that cannot make the Conscious Life Expo next month on the 21st to the 23rd, I do have a stream that I am offering on my website. It just came on right now, and I don't know if it could only hold 100 people. So first come, first serve. It's only going to be $100, and you guys are going to be able to watch my new presentation of becoming superhuman. That is going to be mind breaking. It's going to be about 90 minutes. So yeah, it's offered for $100, guys. You guys could all book now. That link is available through my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. All right, let's continue here. Kathleen, thank you so much for your super chat. Where did the children who repopulated the Tartarian area come from? Where did the children who repopulated the Tartarian areas come from? I'm not sure how to answer that question, Kathleen. I'm going to have to research that. I don't know, sister. I'm sorry. Hey, Ishmael, what are your thoughts on Earth possibly being Atlantis? I really don't understand what you mean. I think you're referring to Earth being Atlantis. Well, the Earth was once inhabited by the Atlanteans 12,000 years ago. But, back then there were other colonies, not just Atlantis. We had Lemuria, we had the U colony, we had the Rama colony, we had the Mayan colony, and they were all coexisting in peace. Not necessarily. Somebody's asking me if somebody sees those formation of those federated or federations, does it mean they end up in 4D? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But in the fourth dimensional reality, which is going to be overseen by the Office of the Christ, the Office of Science and Agriculture, the Office of Cosmic Fusion, as mentioned earlier. It's all going to be working together And just because we are witnessing the formation of the federated regions does not mean that we're ending up in the 40. It just means that we are seeing or we are transitioning rather into the new earth. What's really behind the ice walls? You mean inside Atlantis? I mean inside Antarctica? I almost called it Atlantis. Well, other continents. Apparently, there are other continents that are within the Earth, not outside, within the Earth. That is correct. Atlantis is coming back online along with Lemuria. Are all of these colonies that you mentioned, are they in the ancient archives? Yes. So many questions. I don't even know which one to answer. I'm just going to pick random questions. All right, we are almost at the 90-minute mark, so maybe about two more questions. Why is the new Earth called Sheen? That's just another name. You know, the new Earth is going to be known by multiple names. Some people call it Terra, the original Earth. Some people call it Gaia, but I have heard that some people are referred to it as Sheen. I don't know why, but the new Earth is definitely um, a reality where we all want to be. You know, we're basically going back to where we came from. Remember, we are part of a fall. We fell from the old earth, which is what we call now the new earth, right? Which is hiding underneath the layers of this matrix. Oh, somebody's saying Sheen is from the family of Taigeta. Okay. Yes, disclosure is coming soon, very soon. I think we're going to be witnessing and seeing the first ripples of disclosure this year for sure, for sure. When we take our memories with us, no more forgetting. Yes, we are going to have full access to our memories when we ascend. Um, will free energy come out soon? Soon? Well, that's part of the new Earth infrastructure. Are all galaxies ascending as a whole? Is the ascension viewed as fifth dimension, and or are some going to ascend in a rapture? Also, what will happen to inmates? Four questions. um, Not all galaxies are ascending, but a lot of them that are part or that are in alignment with the ascension of our universe will. Um, Oh, you want to show the cats? Oh, they're getting bigger. Yeah, the cats are getting bigger now. I think they are 5 or 6 months old now. Here's one of them. Say hi. This is Lotus, and this is Rue. Say hi, Rue. Hi, Lotus. See? Say hi. Okay. All right. Never mind. They don't like to be on the spotlight. Yeah, the cats are getting bigger.
The people love them.
Mm-hmm. All right. One more question. One more question. Mm, so many questions. Which one should I pick as a final question? Oh, thank you guys. About the kitties, thank you guys. They are sweet, aren't they? Are humanitarian projects still a thing? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Will the Spanish kingdom fall? You mean Spain? No, Spain's going to be consolidated into the European Federation. Let's see.